Oh my god, I just realized more stuff. Okay, let's keep talking.
Hey, get in here.
Hey, you!
No, get in our room.
Yeah, you, come here.
Come in.
Come on, get in our room.
Welcome to another episode of Get in Our Room. She's Kristin.
And that's Bobbi.
And this week we are doing another set of reading 1-star reviews and doing fan theories for the ACOTAR series, but specifically the reviews are going to be about ACOFAS, which is A Court of Frost and Starlight. So, if you have fan theories or you want to leave your review or a link to your review, be sure to comment and share that with us, because we would, one, love to hear your thoughts on your theories and also know how you felt about ACOFAS. I am going to start with what I read this week because it was nothing again. I read still some Manta comics because they're digestible for me right now. Basically, I just got caught up on all my series releases for the week. And then I did start listening to ACOFAS again through Hoopla, like the audiobook. And I went to where I was cleaning yesterday, continued to listen to it, but then I was listening to music and I just was focused on my task and totally forgot to listen. So, again, crappy reader the past couple weeks, but being very productive in my personal life, which is awesome. So,
and it's summer where you're at, right? So it's hard to read when the weather's so beautiful.
Yes, yeah. We need to spend as much time outside when it's not winter in Michigan. Even though our winters have been pretty mild in comparison the past few years, it's good to be outside when it's nice. And I could use the vitamin D, so.
I am currently in Satan's butthole, so I read a lot this week. The truck read 120 yesterday.
Disgusting. Mm-hmm.
And I made the same mistake twice. I burned my face because I left my sunglasses in the truck and then put them on. And I was like, oh, that's so hot.
Yep.
And then I did it twice in a row. So, just never learned. So it is too hot to exist currently in Texas. So I have just been sitting inside reading my little heart out.
Well, that's good.
I have been reading that Dolls and Douchebags. It's like a mafia gangster love story. And I thought it was a complete series, and it's not. And
Ouch.
the worst part of it all is that the 5th book doesn't even have a release date.
That sucks.
And it's one of those where you get really wrapped up in it, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't think of anything but those characters.
Well, that's fun, but I want to... How far along are you in the books?
Which books? The Throne of Glass?
No. Dolls and Douchebags.
Oh, I just finished the 4th one last night.
Okay, so you immediately, outside of the other books that you're reading, the next series I need you to start
is Psycho Shifters.
Is Psycho Shifters. Because the 5th book comes out in like 10 days. And I think there's one more book after it, because I think there's going to be 3 for each perspective of the females that are in this story. And I'm telling you, it's so freaking good. It is so freaking good. So start that one next. It's fun. The inner monologue of the main character is my favorite part of the story. She's hilarious.
Is that Kindle Unlimited?
I think so.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like a public library book.
Nope, definitely not.
I did finish Empire of Shadows, the 5th book of Throne of Glass.
Cool.
I gotta say, man, this series is so much better than ACOTAR, through and through. And you know what I think it is? SJM doesn't pull any punches in this one, right?
Yeah.
The characters don't get rescued just before something bad happens. They don't kind of like skim over the bad shit. Like, the female main character goes through some crazy fucking shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes her all the more interesting. Like Feyra.
And it's funny because this series, she started writing it when she was 16, Throne of Glass, when she was 16 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. So Throne of Glass was first and then ACOTAR.
Correct. So Sarah J. Maas is 37 years old.
Maybe it's one of those things that, like, as you go through trauma and you live through life, you no longer want to write about it.
Perhaps, yeah. I have no idea about her,
You know?
outside of her stories.
But I did think, and you never watched Supernatural, right? On TV. It had like
Correct.
15 seasons. I thought it was a super interesting reoccurring theme between both Supernatural and Throne of Glass, that all of the most evil people were possessed. In Supernatural, it's demons, and Throne of Glass, it's the Valg.
Arguably demons.
And I was like reading it, and I was like, damn, we always wish that people were possessed by something, but in real life, people do the exact same types of terrible things just because humans are shitbirds,
Yeah.
right? Like, you just wish you could blame it on possession
Yes.
in real life, but you can't.
No.
So that's my thoughts on Throne of Glass so far, kind of, a little bit,
Cool.
the tiniest bit.
This week, I'm really excited to hear from you because in the show notes, you put a theory in there. So I'm really ready to hear your theory.
Yes, this one hit me like a brick wall. So I don't think I've heard anybody else talk about this, and maybe you can correct me, because I do watch a lot of TikTok videos. So maybe if you saw the same one, you can verify. So my theory that I haven't heard anywhere else is that I think Elain is going to start, like, her first love interest is going to be Azriel, but true to SJM format with all of her female characters, her first love interest is never her mate.
Well,
and so
she's already had one love interest, right? Because she was going to get married to the human, and she was devastated because she became Fae, and he was like super against Fae. And remember, they had the Ashwood arrows. They had the ash tree farm inside the walled thing, and then when he found out she was Fae, he like let her go. So she's already had one love interest.
yeah, but everybody's had multiple. I think Feyra's the only one. Feyra had more than one. She had the Fae, and then Tamlin, and then Rhysand.
Yep.
Nessa had too many to count. Elain had Sam, Dorian, Kaol, and then Rowan.
Yep.
Sticking with that theme, that the first one that she's like, it's never the first 10 guys they talk to.
So you think...
And she didn't do the dirty with that first guy, right?
She did.
Oh, she did?
She did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
I still think that Azriel's going to be like that intermittent, I don't know if intermittent's the right word, but he's going to be like the original or like the first love interest as a Fae. And they're like going to go through it, and then, you know, they always kind of like fizzle out that first one. And then I think she's going to end up with Lucian, so that everybody's going to be happy. Because while she's, I don't know if they call it dating or wildly in love with Azriel, everybody's going to be like, it's too clean. 3 sisters, 3 bat boys. Yuck. It's too clean. It doesn't match the dresser. And then she's going to, you know, something's going to happen that's going to pull them apart, and then she'll end up with Lucian as her final mate.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm excited to find out. I just really want to know. I'm impatient about it. So,
all right, what are your fan theories? Are we staying just with this book?
For the most part, it was an epiphany that I had when I was looking at some things. So it was Amazon Day or Prime Days or whatever, and all the ACOTAR books were like on sale. So I bought the ebook version of all of them so I could search them on my Kindle.
Oh.
Because I really wanted to find the scene with more. Because I was like, what book is it in? What chapter it is in? Turns out it's actually an ACOFAS. It's at the very end. It's chapter 24. So, and then when I was rereading this portion, I realized something. So if we go all the way back to ACOMAF, A Court of Mist and Fury, Rhysand introduces Morgan as his cousin. And we know that she is part of the Night Court, and so is Rhysand as High Lord of the Night Court. But, oh my god, I just had a bunch of things pop into my head. I just glitched. Okay. Oh. So their coloring is so different. Mor and Kier and her family are blonde, bright eyes, pale skin. Rhysand is truly Illyrian, like his mother, dark hair, dark skin, blue-violet eyes of his father. And there was conversation about how there was like some type of overthrow in the Night Court, and that's how Rhysand's line became the line, because it was supposed to like be Kier's line, and Mor was supposed to be potentially as the only one born to her parents of the line of lordship. Like she could be a high lady, Mor could be a high lady. They allude to that in the stories up until this point. And that's why Rhysand calls her a queen. Oh my god, I just realized more stuff. Okay, let's keep talking. So...
Wait, it wasn't like a, yes, queen, slay, queen. It wasn't like that kind of queen?
Yeah, like Mor is a proper queen. I mean, she is definitely like slaying shit all day, for sure. Because that's just the Morgan. We gotta give it to her. But they're different coloring, but as I mentioned in episode 12, when I was talking about Illyrians being part witch, in chapter 24 in ACOFAS, the scene where Morgan is at her estate, Athelwood, there's a part that says, I'm pulling up my Kindle because I have a bunch of shit highlighted, guys. Let's go through this. Okay. There's a portion where she's talking about how she can winnow, but she loves to ride on her horses because she can feel the movement. You know, she's part of the motion and the traveling. It actually feels like traveling. And it goes on to say, yes, her blood called to her. Go as far and wide as you can. Go on the wind. They keep coming back to talking about the wind with the Illyrians and Morgan. And so what I think is that Morgan is part witch. She has witch blood in her. And that is how her and Rhysand are cousins, because if you trace back their lineages, they go back to witches. I also think that could be part of why Rhysand references her as a queen, because we know from Throne of Glass that there are witch queens. So,
which tribe do you think she's from?
Oh, yeah. Maybe she's... So maybe she's probably part of Manon's line, because Manon's sister being from Crochin?
I don't know.
I
keep calling them Krokens.
The Crochin witches, and how they're like lighter and whatever. So that could be super, super interesting.
Doesn't the Morgan have red hair? No, she has blonde hair.
She's blonde, yeah. Which could totally fit with Manon, because Manon's got white hair.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking the Crochins, the Sea Clubs, they wear red capes.
Yeah, and she's always in red. She's always in red.
Yeah.
She's always in red. But I want to continue talking about this, because after I thought about this and then in the rest of the context of what happens in this scene, she's talking about her horse's ears going flat against her head, and she stiffens and she follows the line of sight of her horse. And it goes on to say that even in these woods, ancient terrors had been known to emerge. A patch of darkness. It did not move. It did not seem to do anything but linger and watch. Familiar yet foreign. Something in her power whispered not to touch it, not to go near it. Even from a distance, Mor obeyed. And then it goes on to say, but she still watched the darkness and the thorns, as if a shadow had fallen asleep amongst them. Not like Azriel's shadows, twining and whispering, something different. Something that stared back, watching her in turn. And then there's some discussion. She's like talking to her horse, calming her horse down. And it says, what else might she see, witness, in lands where none in the Night Court had ventured in millennia? After reading that, I'm wondering, because she's talking about this ancient wood and something hiding in it. And we know that the witches have been known to hide in the woods, because technically the Weaver was a witch, right? She's hiding in these mystical woods and like all this stuff. But what fascinated me about that is that nobody in the Night Court had traveled in this land and explored it for millennia. So she has this estate that she bought some 300 years ago, because she's like 500 plus years old, 300 years ago, with these horses that she like hides and goes and visits for a couple days here and there. And nobody else is around. So
Right.
I think it'd be very interesting to understand if there's like witches or something dark going on, but I really just need more of that scene explained. So, but I was on Instagram, and Yaz the Bookish has some really good content around just Sarah J. Maas stuff in general, but she has like so far I think it's a 3-part series of fun facts for the SJM Fandom Edition. Part 3 is what this is from. And Sarah has confirmed ages ago that ACOTAR, there's already a same-sex mated couple that she plans to write a novel for. And in parentheses, people are asking, is this more? Is this going to be more? And she talks because we had this question a couple episodes ago of can mates be same sex? And it's true. And thinking about it, and Yaz the Bookish points this out, in Throne of Glass, you see more than one same-sex mated couple, specifically Heir of Fire and Kingdom and Bash. So the gentleman at the where Rowan and Elain are training for her Fae, there's a same-sex mated couple. I totally forgot about that until I read this. I was like,
But they're not 100% Fae. They're demi-Fae. So I don't know if that matters.
That's a good point.
They're only, not that it matters to me, but I don't know if that matters to everybody else. And I think the other thing is that they're supposed to be very animalistic, right? So their full intent in life is to mate and have children, even though it's really hard for the Fae to have children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she talks about in ACOWAR, they're a mated pair in ACOWAR, and people believe she's referencing High Lord of Dawn, Thesian, and his captain. I remember that from ACOWAR. Him and his captain were a pair.
I didn't know if they were mated, though. They seemed like just an offhand comment. Or maybe I don't remember them that much.
I don't know if it was specifically said they were mated either, but maybe, I don't know. I have to go back and search it, which I can do now because I own all of them on my Kindle.
I don't know. It seems like Sarah J. Maas is grasping at straws for her same-sex couples here.
Yeah, potentially.
But it once again comes up in the 1-star reviews, so I'm very excited about that one.
And this week, Kristin is going to just be explaining all the things about the 1-star reviews because I didn't do my homework this week.
Because it's summertime in Michigan.
Yep. So, Kristin.
You gotta enjoy that sun while you can.
Yup. Tell us about these 1-star reviews for ACOFAS.
For this one, this particular book, novella, fluffy flufferson in between 2 other books, I think it has the lowest rating at a 3.7.
Wow.
Out of all of the books. There are 673,000 ratings and 49,000 reviews. Out of those 49,000 reviews, you have 14,000 1-star reviews, which is 2%. And all of the other ones, the 1-star reviews have been less than 1% of the overall reviews. So I am in good company. A lot of people did not like this book. Even if you enjoyed the rest of the series, this book was silly. This week, instead of doing full reviews, because everybody kept saying the same thing, it was so boring. They didn't like Feyra in this one. So it actually took, I had to dig through a lot of these to find any sort of unique or interesting ideas. Because everybody had the same thing to say about everything, about every single piece of this. So these are the best I could find.
Perfect.
Nesta is probably the only character I enjoy reading about, with the exception of Lucian, just because she's the antithesis to a group of characters who have become hyped up on themselves and their own importance. And I got to agree. Everybody, especially in this book, is really patting themselves on the back about how great they are.
I can tell you from my experience with all these characters that hands down, my two favorite characters are Amryn and Nesta. Number one being Nesta. And I can tell you for a fact that I am not the only one, because Paige, she agrees that Nesta is probably her favorite character out of this grouping.
Why is Nesta your favorite? What's some of your favorite things about her?
So I didn't like Nesta at first because I was like, this chick. But the more you grow to like, and you start to really learn about Nesta in this book, really like about what's going on with her. I think there's an understatement of how manipulated Nesta was as a child, being the eldest of three girls with a potentially Fae bargained mom or lineage Fae bargained mom. I mentioned my story about that in last week's episode, so go check that out because I don't want to get into it all over again. But I enjoyed...
Sorry, real quick. For everybody that wants to check out last week's episode, where could they do so?
Oh, you can totally do that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Yep, those are the places.
Rate our episode. Leave us some reviews, your thoughts.
Definitely.
We know how much you guys like to write your thoughts down. Share them with us.
Yeah, please do. Out of all of these books, The ACOTAR Silver Flames was hands down my favorite because I thought it was a more genuine take on found friends and created family.
Yep.
And I loved that I have this wonderful tribe of women in my life. So I think at this point in my life, I really related with Nesta's story and building and finding her own tribe and rising up against all of these challenges that she faced, and totally coming out on top as a badass and not having as many people holding her hand and helping her along the way to achieve it. So that is why I love and adore Nesta. And I really grew to appreciate her in this book a lot because she was a drunk, smutty book reader too, because like we've all had that phase. Getting wine drunk, reading smut.
You know, it is one of the very few characters, right? They didn't really have any in ACOTAR. She didn't really have anybody cheering her on, right? They all tried to take like that tough love type of thing. But I think my favorite part about Nesta is the idea that she's very authentic. And I think it's terrifying because she refused to put a smile on her face and pretend that like everything's okay. I'm totally fine after going through this crazy war. You know, like, I have a friend by my side, so everything is completely and totally fine. And she was just like, fuck you guys, this is how I'm feeling, and I'm going to let it show on my face. Like,
yep. Which is amazing and in and of itself powerful. And I also think that's why I appreciate Cassian, is because despite that, he continued to show up and see that, like, at the end of the day, it's okay to love and care about somebody going through something hard. You just have to continue to show up.
Yeah. And love doesn't fix everything.
Absolutely fucking not. It makes it harder. Jeez.
The next review, this one is in all caps, but I'll try not to scream in your ear, if that's okay. Sarah wrote fanfic about her own books, her own characters. Help! This book was fan fiction. Christmas fan fiction. Christmas-themed everything in a world where people worship a cauldron? Oh, but it's winter solstice. Shut up. These characters were celebrating Christmas. We all know it. She ends with, how people enjoyed this is mind-boggling.
That's awesome.
They had a Christmas tree, right?
Yeah, they had a tree.
A pine tree.
But solstice, I don't know. If you, again, talking about paganism and historical traditions outside of Christianity, winter solstice is Christmas. Christmas is winter solstice. Christmas is a term coined by the church.
Yeah, but if you're making an imaginary world, why not make it more fun? Like, they all dance around a cauldron and they have a big giant fire with, like, eggnog in a cauldron that they put magic lights on. Or, I don't know, like, anything besides a Christmas tree. Which is, in theory, is just a pine tree, but...
You know, dancing around a bonfire would be more akin to a proper winter solstice.
See?
I did like her take on the winter solstice being like some of the families in Valaris that practice winter solstice, they actually would not light a fire. So this is kind of a spin on it. They would sit in complete darkness, waiting for the rise of the sun, the bringing of the light of the next day, transitioning. So that's kind of a cool spin on winter solstice.
Is it because they couldn't afford firewood?
I don't know. People in Valaris don't give me the impression that they struggle for anything.
That's true. It did. I don't know. This one did feel a little hollow with a lot of the characters, so I could see how somebody would strike this as a fan fiction.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I know you and I view this book very differently. You, correct me if I'm wrong, you love the details and the backstories and the additional information.
I think it's important. I think it's an important setup for the next book.
I could have gone without.
I've never tried to transition from ACOWAR straight into a Court of Silver Flames, so not so sure how it would transition, but I do think that there were little important nuggets dropped, little Easter eggs dropped. But is it my favorite book? No, it's just it's a week-long time basically that is drug out in this probably supposed to be novella that is an actual novel. So yeah.
Yeah, and they're just Christmas shopping, drinking, baking.
Yep. Just trying to convince Nesta to exist outside of her boundaries, which is shitty.
Not drink during the holidays.
Which, who does that?
It just felt like it almost did feel like it was written like your 2-week vacation you get when you're in like high school. But man, it was one of those books where I didn't realize it was a novella, or I didn't realize that just kept waiting for something to happen. Like they'd be like, and then we were walking through the market and I was like, look up! Look up! Oh, it's just the sun. You guys are fine. Like nothing happened in this book. I think if you were writing about these characters, this would be a nice little reprieve for them of not training and fighting for their lives. And I guess it was kind of fun to see the Bat Boys, because this is the one where we learn about their cute little snowball fight, right?
That is correct.
So it is a
situation afterwards. It's hilarious.
So it is a fun insight into them as not
warriors,
as everybody who they are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
The funny reviews continue. This one's a little bit more serious. I guess they're not really all that serious. It's a made-up book, but the reason why Feyra all of a sudden wants a baby is because she wants a piece of Rhys to remain with her in case he dies. Red flag number 1. First of all, that's really fucking morbid. You don't just have a child because you want another version of your partner in case he dies. The fuck? That's so weird. The baby ain't even conceived yet, and she's already had his expectations of it.
I have thoughts on this one, but I don't want to ruin the end.
No, go for it.
I'm gonna ruin the end of the next book, so that's why I think it's maybe not something I say.
I was like, all right, you got me there. Because honestly, the first time I read that, I was like, oh. And then after this person pointed out that that's fucking weird, I was like, oh, I guess it is kind of weird. That like if you think your husband's gonna die, you just want a little piece of him.
Yeah, it's wild. No, I don't understand that either. I agree with this person. This is just completely fucking weird.
But I guess that's what makes them, I was gonna say human, but the term is real, because they don't have the best logic.
Makes them extra.
That's Feyra's human side still peeking through. I think this is the continuation of that one before, but she said, also, and I'm just saying I just assume that the majority of SJM fans, masochists, are in fact females, women. We call humans women. So I'm just assuming the majority of these reviewers are women, and I don't look at their names because I don't want to accidentally say them out loud.
Yeah, because it's irrelevant. We just want to talk about the topics that they arise.
Yeah, I don't want the person themselves. Also, Feyra is High Lady, isn't she? Why is she doing the bare minimum while Rhys takes care of all the political things? I put quotations because apparently taking care of politics strictly consists of going to the human city to display their power, intimidate Kier, and bully him into offering aid whenever it suits them.
I have thoughts about this.
Share them. This is the time and the place.
So I think that Feyre doesn't do nothing. She focuses a lot on like the humanitarian efforts and of Valaris and rebuilding after the attack and the war and everything like that. So she's not handling the political things. But in a sense of when you look at a structure of a leading man and a female, like let's say the president and the first lady, you're looking at exactly the same type of setup. Male is a lot of political stuff, while the female is doing a lot of humanitarian work, just like community type work and stuff like that. So I don't think she does nothing. I think she's just doing a more traditional female thing, which I think is actually interesting because this is like, she had a lot more. Time. No, she had a lot more political role during the war, and they did it together as like an image of true mates, a high lord, high lady. But now that the war is over, they're kind of settling into more traditional things again, with her gonna have a baby and like all this stuff there. It's starting to settle into the patriarchy.
Well, it's interesting though, because Feyre's never had a traditional female role in anything. Yeah. Right? She was going out and hunting and killing and chopping firewood, right?
Yep.
So she's never had a traditional female role. But then my question to you is like, if she's presented as the first lady, like our only equivalency, right, of president and first lady, how does that make her any different than any of the other mates to the High Lord?
That's what I'm getting at. We're settling into a space where it's like the patriarchy.
Yeah. It's like she's doing stuff, but she's not doing interesting stuff.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the portion I can agree with on this review.
I think it's also hard to imagine the day-to-day life of a politician and what they would actually do. Like, you know, I don't know if you drive past like offices in downtown and you're like, I know people sit in those offices for 40 hours a week. I have no idea what they do with those 40 hours while they're sitting at a computer.
Yep.
It's kind of the same idea of like, I don't know how to write what politicians, I don't know what you do all day. Okay, so this is the last review that I have. And this loops back around to homosexuality. And I think this one's so funny. More? Still closeted in a world without homophobia?
Yep.
In a world where even high lords aren't afraid to show their lovers? She still hasn't talked to Azriel? She still leads him on? Why is she so scared of Eris? What did he really do to her? We haven't really seen that whole side of his story or anything that's going on there. The other thing is her power revolves around truth. We don't really know how her power works. This reviewer would like somebody to please explain that. She's begging for it. She sure does lie a lot to herself and others.
Ooh, yup. Ouch. I wish I had a teacup because I'd be like sipping on that tea. Whoops. She went there.
So I thought that was interesting because I don't remember her power being truth. And I guess I don't remember it because I don't understand it. But yeah, she does lie a lot. But she's closeted in a world without homophobia.
It's funny because you mentioned that and you mentioned this review and I'm going back to chapter 24, Morgan. And it literally starts with, she lied to Feyra. Sort of. So chapter 24 is the epitome of this review.
She lied.
She lied.
Does chapter 23 end with her power is truth?
No, it was
Oh, that would have been too much better. Well, like I said, a lot of those were very similar, even though this particular book out of this series had the most 1-star reviews, they were the least funny and the most repetitive. So I didn't have a whole lot to share this week.
What was the main repetition in these reviews?
They hated Feyra, and like they were like, the main repetition was like Hamlin wanted to lock Feyra away and to like make her a housewife, and then in this book, Feyra made herself a housewife and was like, "It's great! I just shop and paint and bake." And the other one was just, what was the point of this book? It was just fluff.
Yeah,
10,000 times that opinion was repeated.
Yeah,
of those 2 points. So
Thank you for making it to the end of the episode. If you're still here with us, we appreciate you. We would love to hear from you and your comments about any of the reviews or items that we discussed today about Morgan, the witches, how you felt about ACOFAS. So be sure to like this if you enjoyed your time with us today, and to comment and subscribe for more, because we will be back next week with 1-star reviews of A Court of Silver Flames. And you guys, I'm going to let you know right now, my feelings are going to be hurt.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite book.
My feelings are going to be hurt. So
Bring your tissues.
yep. Thanks again, and we will see you next week.